The amount of times I've heard someone go, oh, I'm starting this new keto diet, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna go without carbs or whatever. I'm like, why are you doing it then? Oh, because, you know, I want to lose weight. I've heard it's really good. That's not, it just blows my mind. Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the keto diet. The reason for this is because it's not new. It's been obviously talked about for a while now, but I'm noticing it coming up a lot more often recently. And I just think that there is a massive lack of education around the whole diet. People are very uneducated about what they're doing, and I think people need to be more educated and more accountable for their own health. You can't keep going around being so naive about what you're putting in your body and what your body's doing. You need to be more aware of what you're eating, why you're eating it, and how you feel eating that. So I just kind of wanted to talk about it to bring a little bit more education and awareness around it, so that you can actually understand what it is and why you should or should not be on a keto diet. So basically, I'll start off with what is a keto diet. A keto diet means that you have very low carbs, and obviously then your fats are at a higher level to compensate for the lack of carbs. So with a keto diet, your main source of energy comes from fat. So 60 to 75% of your daily intake of your calories comes from fats. And then obviously, like I said, about 30% protein and the rest. So only 5 to 10% comes from carbs. So that's obviously quite limited. Our main energy source comes from glucose or carbs. So our body breaks down carbohydrates into glucose, and then glucose is broken down into glycogen and stored in the muscles and around our body to be used as energy. And that is the easiest source of energy for our body to use. So the point of keto is that you replace your main source of energy with fats instead of carbs, which means you basically starve your body of carbs. And so then instead your body goes, well, okay, I don't have any carbs or, glucose to use to break down for energy. So now I need to find something else to use, which means it uses your fats. And what it does is it breaks down the fats in your liver, breaks them down and produces what is called ketones, and then uses the ketones for energy rather than carbs. So that is called, we call that when your body is in a state of ketosis. So that's a little bit of a breakdown of what a keto diet is. So there is a bit of a lack of education around it. The whole thing that I hear people saying around keto is that they think they're going to lose weight being on a keto diet. And there is sort of this whole thing that your body obviously only has fats to use, which means it has to burn the fat, which means you're going to lose weight. So it's a bit not 100% how it works. The problem is that people don't actually understand what the point of the keto diet is. They just jump on it because they've heard that it's a weight loss fad or whatever, and that's kind of why it's got this name upon it, where we kind of hear the name keto and you roll your eyes and switch off, because people just seem to want to do it because they think they're going to lose weight, but they don't actually understand. And I think half the time people that do keto diets actually aren't even in a state of ketosis. So technically they're just on a low carb diet, or probably going about it the wrong way. So again, people think, oh, because it's a high fat diet, I'll just eat a heap of bacon and drink cream for breakfast. And again, that's not the way to go about it. Obviously that's not exactly healthy for you. So what I want to clear up is that you're not losing weight on a keto diet because you've cut out carbs and your body's burning fat instead of carbs or whatever. Like, that's not the reason you're losing weight. The reason you lose weight is because you're in a calorie deficit. So generally speaking, if someone goes on a keto diet, they're probably not eating as much as they normally would because they've cut out carbs. If you're so used to having, like, as a whole, this society is pretty much addicted to carbs. And obviously fat got a really bad name for it, you know, over the last however many years. And because of that, people were like, oh, fat's bad, we should eat low fat stuff. And everyone kind of turned more to carbs. And now carbs have got a bad name. And the problem is there's no food that you shouldn't be eating. It's just everything within moderation. So like I said, half the time people probably aren't even in a state of ketosis. And the reason that you're probably losing weight on a keto diet is because you're so used to eating carbs all the time, because that's just kind of the way that our society is. You're used to eating like big bowls of pasta, or like, I don't know, really sugary cereals for breakfast, or I don't know, rice, whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden you're on a keto diet and you have to cut out all those carbs. You're probably not actually eating as much. So technically the reason you're losing weight is because you're in a calorie deficit, not because you're eating fats instead of carbs. So that's a very big misconception, I think, that's sort of come from the keto diet. Another reason that I think fat loss or weight loss occurs because of a keto diet is because fats will keep you fuller than what carbs will. So again, there's a misconception. Like, I remember growing up, I was always told, fill up on your carbs, like eat your bread, eat your rice, eat your pasta. That's what's going to fill you up. But that's actually not true. Protein is actually what keeps us fuller for longer. So protein is harder for your body to break down, meaning that it takes longer. It keeps you fuller for longer. And also your metabolism has to speed up to be able to break it down. Like I said, carbs are actually the easiest molecule for your body to break down. So our bodies are very efficient at breaking down carbs, generally speaking, which means it happens very quickly. So they don't actually keep you full for long. They might make you feel full, like eating a bowl of pasta makes you feel full, but that's because it's a dense food. It's a heavy food. So you're confusing actually like fullness. You'll feel full in your tummy, but like technically it's not keeping you full for longer. It's actually breaking down quite fast. So that's another reason I think people do actually lose weight on a keto diet, because they're so used to thinking that they're full with carbs, but when you replace those carbs with high fats and proteins, your body is actually going to be more satisfied, technically speaking, because it takes longer to break those foods down, which means decreased appetite. If you're less hungry, you're going to eat less, generally speaking, which means if you're eating less, calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. Another reason why people might think that the keto diet is good for weight loss is because most of us generally eat carbs, and when you eat carbs, you tend to hold on to a bit more water. Water retention is a result of carbohydrates. And so someone who switches to a keto diet might feel, oh, I've lost all this weight, or you jump on the scales and technically it's less, but a lot of it might just be fluid retention. So you've lost a bit of that fluid because your body's not got all these carbs and whatever. So again, it's a false misconception of weight loss or fat loss. It's not fat loss, it's weight loss due to less water retention from less carbs. So I think with a diet, I don't really like to speak about diets, because for me personally, I'm not on a diet. I've been there, I've done yo-yo dieting and I've been back and forth with different diets and whatever, and I ended up learning that it isn't a diet, it's a lifestyle. So you need to pick a way to live that's going to be sustainable for you and your goals. If you really enjoy carbs and then all of a sudden you're going on a keto diet, you're not going to maintain it. You're not going to stick to that diet, which means, you might initially lose a little bit of weight, but when you get sick of being on a keto diet and that whole like fad's over and you jump off the bandwagon, you go back to eating carbs, you're probably going to gain all that weight back, if not more. So it's not sustainable, and it's not, you're not going to maintain it. So what's the point? you might as well not cut out carbs completely and just minimize your portion sizes or minimize your like intake of those carbs, and therefore you can still have them and probably still going to lose weight over a longer sustained period of time. So there are a few people that keto diets are actually going to be beneficial for, not because of the weight loss side of things, but because of the actual benefits behind how their body responds. As a rule of thumb, people that have a faster metabolism or are what we call fast oxidizers, meaning that they break down or they burn through their energy faster than others, you might be better suited to a high-fat diet because fats are harder for your body to break down, which means it's going to take longer and it's going to be a more sustained energy release compared to if you are a fast oxidizer and you have carbs as your main energy source. Carbs are already super easy to break down, plus your body is really fast at burning through energy, which means it's going to get that energy intake, burn through it super fast. You'll probably get like an energy high and then you might crash real fast afterwards. If you find that's happening to you from eating carbs, you might be better off trying a lower carb diet or a keto diet. Whereas if you are more of a slow metabolizer or a slow oxidizer, your body burns through energy slowly, you might benefit more from carbs because you might be feeling really slow and sluggish all the time, like you don't have a lot of energy. If you eat carbs as your main energy source, and then your body has to sort of be constantly burning through those carbs because it is a slow energy user already, it's going to be a sustained period of burning and energy, whereas obviously fats are harder to break down. So if you're already a slow oxidizer and then you're using a slow energy source, you're going to have a really low constant energy source, and that might be why you're feeling sluggish and slow all the time. So it just comes down to figuring out what works best for you, what your body responds to, how you feel, and nobody can tell you that. That's going to be something that you have to figure out for yourself just by, say, maybe trying, 2 or 3 weeks doing a higher carb option, as opposed to maybe then trying 2 or 3 weeks doing a lower carb option, and just figuring out, maybe journaling how you're feeling, how you're responding. If you train and you go to the gym, figuring out if you have a high fat meal before the gym, how you feel. If you have a high carb meal before the gym, how you feel. So it all comes down to figuring out what works for you. People with polycystic ovary syndrome might respond really well to a keto diet. The reason being is because people with PCOS have their body has difficulty in processing carbs, and their body releases too much insulin, more than what it needs, which then leads to other side effects. For example, increased testosterone. When you have increased testosterone, it can cause decreased estrogen, which causes other problems. So people with PCOS already have difficulty processing carbs, so they might benefit more from a low carb diet or a keto diet. This can also be why people with polycystic ovary syndrome struggle to lose weight. So to understand why someone with polycystic ovary syndrome might respond better to a keto diet, you need to understand what insulin does in the body. So insulin is a hormone produced by the pancreas and released into the bloodstream. So basically when you eat a meal, you are obviously consuming macronutrients. Those nutrients need to be broken down in your body to either be stored or used for energy or, basic bodily functions. So when you eat, you have an increased level of blood sugar circulating around your body. That triggers something in your brain to say to the pancreas, create more insulin, which is released into the bloodstream, and that helps tell your body where all those nutrients need to go. So it basically opens up the cells ready for absorption of all those nutrients. Once all the nutrients are absorbed, your insulin levels should then drop back to baseline and everything sort of regulates back to normal. in between meals. So insulin also tells your body to stop burning fat from its energy stores, and it instead wants you to store even more. So when you have an increased level of insulin, it wants you to store that as fat. If your body has a problem using insulin properly, and you know, with someone with PCOS is releasing too much insulin for what it actually needs, that high level of insulin is going to tell your body to store your nutrients that it's intaking as fat, whether it's glucose come from carbs or fatty acids that have come from your fat intake. It wants to tell your body to store those as fat, because that's what the insulin's job is, to help your body store the nutrients that have come in, or direct them around the body to where they're supposed to go. So too much insulin can then lead to fat storage or weight gain, which is also, that's obviously why people with polycystic ovary syndrome struggle with weight. They might find it harder to lose weight, or they might gain weight more easily than other people, because their body is releasing too much insulin. So that is why someone with PCOS might benefit more from a keto diet, basically because reducing the amount of carbs they intake, because their body struggles to process those carbs, it's going to be more beneficial for them to use fats as their energy source. And also because the higher the blood sugar levels are, the more your body thinks it needs to release insulin. So if you are consuming more fats rather than carbs, you're going to have a lower blood sugar level, which is going to help regulate your insulin. So not so much of a high blood sugar level or insulin spikes, or just a maintained higher level of insulin, because you're not feeding your body carbs or a lot of like blood sugar, a lot of sugars to increase your blood sugar level. So I think that's pretty much everything that I kind of wanted to say about the keto diet. So my recommendations, whether or not you should do a keto diet, I'm going to say no, I wouldn't recommend it, based on the fact that the general population, you need a diet that it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. So you basically need something that you're going to be able to stick to and maintain, that's going to be sustainable for a longer period of time, because weight loss isn't the hard part. Keeping the weight off is the hard part. The maintenance is the issue. So recommending a keto diet for a general population person, no, it wouldn't be sustainable for you. But someone who has a health issue such as polycystic ovary syndrome might be more beneficial for you, worth giving it a go. And also, like I said, someone who has a super fast metabolism that just burns through energy super fast also might benefit from a high fat diet. It all comes down to you and what your body responds to, what you feel best on. But I just wanted to clear up that a keto diet is not gonna make you lose weight. That's not the benefits of going on a keto diet shouldn't be for weight loss. They should be for how your body feels. At the end of the day, weight loss comes from a calorie deficit. If you don't know what that means, calories in versus calories out, which means your body needs a certain amount of calories just to function. So the baseline level of calories to function on. If you're overweight, that means that you're consuming too much, which means after your body's done all its bodily functions and energy to survive and whatever it needs for its body, it's still got some left over, which is it's then storing it in your body as fat to be used later on. But obviously it doesn't get used later on because it just ends up sitting there. So to lose fat, then you need to be in a deficit. Your intake of calories needs to be then lowered, or you need to expend more energy, so burn more calories. So either way, that balance needs to be result in a deficit, and that's how you lose weight. So anyway, thank you all for listening. I hope that helped clear up the keto diet for some of you, and whether or not it is something that would be beneficial to you. If you did enjoy that, please give the video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe on your way out. Thank you.